What's good, YouTube? It's Gabriel, just another fan TV. Back at you another video. Like the content in this video, go hit that like button. Like the content of this channel, go ahead and subscribe. Hey, look, today we're going to talk about Rashod Bateman is the Ravens' most important player for this upcoming season. And why is that, right? First round pick, extremely talented player, star potential that you could see in Rashod Bateman from his college days and even some early on stuff in his NFL career, right? I saw him in training camp last year. Last year in training camp, he was the best route runner on his team. The way he came in and out of breaks and cuts, the Ravens didn't have anybody else like that. Now, unfortunately, like most of the Ravens last year, he got hurt. All right. Now, obviously, he didn't have a season-ending injury. He came back. He still played 12 games, started 4 of those games, and had 46 catches, 515 yards, and a touchdown. All right. Now, the stats don't tell the whole story because those stats aren't crazily impressive and things like that. Now, he did play 68% of the snaps. So when the Ravens did play him, they kept him on the field for, a large majority of the team snaps, close to 70%. So that's good. But when I look at Rashod Bateman, I look at certain games, right? Chargers game, came back. Every catch he had was a first down, right? And why was that impressive? Because I think it was one where it was like maybe 7 yards ago, he caught like a 5-yard hitch, put a move on the cornerback, stiff armed him, got the first down. Wide receiver one type qualities. Okay. The game, Dolphins game, the all-out blitz pressure game, right? Ravens couldn't get anything going to the end of the third, fourth quarter. But who was the guy that was getting it going? It was Rashod Bateman, right? Beating their sticks coverage. When they did press up and play over top, he was beating them, getting around them over top. He was clearly Lamar Jackson's favorite target in a game where nothing went right. Clearly. And that's how Hollywood Brown's on the field, right? It was clearly Rashod Bateman who was his favorite target when nothing else was going right. Okay. The game, Browns game, Lamar unfortunately gets injured that game, right? Early on, first quarter, Lamar gets injured. Rashod Bateman has his best game of the season, right? I believe he had over 100 yards that game. He goes on a streak route. Tyler Huntley throws it up to him. He goes over the top of the cornerback's head, takes it. Should have been a touchdown. They moved him down to the 1-yard line. Whoa. Well, obviously, we want type qualities, right? And I'm not mentioning Hollywood's name to throw any slander on Hollywood. I'm not one of those Ravens fans that's going to slander Hollywood Brown, okay? But you couldn't do that with Hollywood. Hollywood was a smaller receiver. That just wasn't in his game. Rashod Bateman gives the Ravens that kind of flexibility where he could beat you over the top. Yes, he could do it with speed. He could do it with route running precision. But he could also do it with pure athletic ability and going and getting the ball. That's important. Bengals game. Josh Johnson at quarterback, right? Now, that Bengals game in Cincinnati was ugly. I know we got blew out, but a bunch of practice squad players on the field, I don't really care. What I cared about in that game was seeing Rashod Bateman at the goal line, putting a move on that Bengals cornerback, scoring a touchdown. All right. That was a wide receiver one type of effort. Now we're here, 2022. Why is he the most important Raven? Because the Ravens want their passing game to work at all. He needs to be wide receiver one clearly. All right. It can't be a fact of, all the guys just kind of cobble it together and piece it together. And, we'll see. We'll have 3 guys who can make up one wide receiver one. That can't be the case. Rashod Bateman has to be the guy. All right. Now, we talked about Hollywood. Hollywood's no longer here. There's nobody in the way of him getting the targets, right? Hollywood got a lot of targets last year, right? I believe it was 140 plus targets. That's up for grabs now. This Greg Roman offense, we don't like it. I know 2 tight ends was drafted. We got Mark Andrews. I don't think the Ravens are going to go with 3 tight ends as much as people think. I think there's going to be a lot of 2 tight end sets. But point being, I know people saying, we're going back to 2019, this and that. We'll see, right? But what we can for sure know about this Greg Roman offense, the tight end can eat and 1 wide receiver can eat. All right. Now, when I say eat, Hollywood Brown had 1,000 yards. He's on pace for probably 1,300 yards if Lamar Jackson doesn't get hurt. Rashod Bateman needs to be on that same kind of pace. And we're talking about that 12 to, I would say, 1,100 to 1,300 yard pace, 8 to 10 touchdowns. He can do that this year. The Ravens can get to where they want to get to. I honestly believe that because Lamar Jackson is going to do his thing. Mark Andrews is going to do his thing. The Ravens defense is looking great, in my opinion. Top 5 potential, top 3 potential on that side of the football. All right. But back to the offense. Like I said, Lamar Jackson is going to do his thing. Mark Andrews is going to do his thing. Who is that next guy? The next guy has to be Rashod Bateman. He was drafted in the draft class of, Jamar Chase and Devontae Smith and Elijah Moore. Guys who were, well, I guess no, Devontae Smith, they got A.J. Brown now, but they're 1A, 1B. But all guys who are expected to be wide receiver ones on their team. And Rashod Bateman, in my opinion, is in that kind of territory. Now, Jamar Chase is obviously a supremely talented player. It's just a little bit of a different level there. But Bateman has all the tools and the quality to be what the Ravens need him to be. And if the Ravens want to have, I think the Ravens are going to have success in the regular season just because that's what they do. They don't really struggle in the regular season, especially under Lamar Jackson. I mean, 37-12 record through his first 49 games. So we know that this is about the playoffs, honestly. Say if Mark Andrews has another bad playoff game, because he's had them in the past. We got to be honest. We love Mark. Now, we haven't seen the superstar version of Mark that we had last year in the playoffs. Unfortunately, we couldn't make the playoffs last year, so we couldn't see that version of Mark Andrews, in the big dance. But say Mark Andrews in a bad playoff game. Who's going to step up? Who's going to be the guy? Right? So say what you want about Hollywood Brown. We played in the playoffs. He showed up. Say what you want to say about him. That's a fact. Can't deny that. We played in the playoffs. He showed up. Rashod Bateman has to show up on the biggest stages. Now, for the wide receiver one for the Ravens, what does he have to do? Andrews is going to get a lot of coverage, a lot of attention. So, Bateman, when you're one-on-one, you got to win that matchup. You got to catch everything. When there's a third down that needs to be converted, you got to be able to get open. Whether it's finding spots in the zone, whether it's beating straight up man-to-man coverage, whether it's, a team wants to all-out blitz us again because they think Lamar Jackson can't handle the situation, right? Which we know is not true, but other teams might think that, right? You have to be that outlet, get open quick, and make yourself the hot read and get that first down like I've seen you do before. All right. Bateman has all the talent to be the Ravens' number one wide receiver and a true number one wide receiver in the NFL. Right. Now he has to show and prove at the position to go ahead and do it. Now there's many talented wide receivers in the league, and Bateman, I think it's one of those next guys. I mean, he is consistently on a list of Ravens players who could be a quote-unquote breakout candidate, right? Fantasy football doesn't mean anything, but, he's a guy where, he's a fantasy football breakout candidate, right? Somebody who's targeting your drafts and things like that. Obviously, fantasy football is different from real football, but I'm just saying the expectations are there for Rashod Bateman. And I believe he has the talent to meet them because I've seen it with my own two eyes. We've seen it with our own two eyes. So, the Ravens need more weapons in the passing game. That's a fact. If Andrews is 1, Bateman needs to be 2. Running backs can be 3. And then we'll see what else we can get from the other 3 wide receivers that's on this team with Prochet, Duvernay, and Wallace. Hopefully that they could add, one of those guys could add 400 to 700 yards, and we'll be fine with it. But Bateman needs to be the clear wide receiver 1. He needs to be the player. He needs to be Hollywood, but better, honestly. That's what he needs to be. The Ravens need a wide receiver that separates himself from the pack as the clear wide receiver 1. And Bateman's going to have those opportunities to do it. To me, that's why he's the most important Raven for this upcoming season. Because if his season goes poorly, it can mean very bad things for the passing game. So it's a lot of hope. It's a lot of hopes. It's a lot of pressure on a second-year guy. But Bateman put that pressure on himself. We heard him talk in the Marlon Humphrey for Studio 44 interview, right? He says, my time is now. And he truly believes that. And I love that he believes that, right? Now it's time to show and prove and put that on the field, all right? Well, that's my spiel on Rashod Bateman being the most important Ravens player for this upcoming season. Hey, let me know if you guys agree in the comments, and if you don't, who's your most important player? And let's try to stay away from Lamar Jackson, all right? We know Lamar Jackson is the guy. He's the engine that makes the team run, all right? So if you got somebody else, let me know. It's your boy Gabriel, Just Another Fan TV. I'm out.